what do you most directly worry about?
Yes. Bias in key decisions around our lives. Number 2, hurting new entrants. And number 3, entrenching concentrated power.
We've gotten really focused on sort of Terminator scenarios and real disaster scenarios that are actually taking everyone's attention and focus away from the fact that these companies are basically set to do what the tech platforms have already done, which is eat everybody's economic lunch.
The conversations that I have in technical communities around what AI risk means, it is just a totally different conversation.
We've seen these narratives used at times to shoot down efforts to regulate the tech industry.
There are other risks, and those risks are affecting people right now and yesterday and tomorrow.
At nearly every level of the technology stack, a tiny handful of corporations, often the very same ones, are completely dominant.
If you already have a leg up in things like internet search, you are probably going to have a leg up in certain kinds of AI technologies. If you have a leg up in cloud computing, you probably are going to have a leg up, again, in New Horizon AI technologies.
Today's AI boom is driven at its core by commercial surveillance, and its incentive structures are shaped by the existing infrastructural dominance of a small handful of firms.
So that the dominance of a handful of corporate actors creating the foundation models on which we're trying to build these systems.
It is incredibly important that we investigate and we understand what the implications for competition of these agreements are.
Our growing dependence on the digital infrastructure provided by a few monopolistic platforms also threatens our resilience and our security.
So many online originating lies have moved into our mainstream media and not only completely disrupt an election, but also significantly erode the faith of a population in the democratic process itself.
Diverting revenues from news publishers, specifically at the local level.
Our concerns about bias, about equity.
Introduced into a environment rife with exploitation and surveillance capitalism.
Streaming services have used AI data and algorithms also to exercise incredible gatekeeper power.
It monetizes and advantages junk that otherwise would not have a business model.
We should now not make a case that AI is so special that we need special laws for this. No, competition can be fair and reliable in all conditions.
AI gives us a chance to really reflect on the tools we already have, principally under the Sherman Act.
Industrial policy, I think, has worked. There's a very strong antitrust flavor to it. It's about making room for new entrants, new competitors.
Do the kinds of testing that needs to happen, and that we can do it before these systems are put out there.
Getting to a world where we have many companies working on AI development. Creating those kinds of conditions, that's how we actually create innovation.
They have tools. The control of mergers and agreements is potentially very powerful.
Consent, credit, and compensation for our works that are ingested into these machines.
This is a moment for transformative change, both when it comes to using technology at work and also in redefining the role of workers in that process.
We need to bring that concentration of power analysis. We need to thread it across policy domains outside of competition.
I started looking more deeply at how these tech companies discriminate, and the reality is that they are, like you said, built perfectly for it. This is what they're designed for. They are the perfect mechanism for hiding accountability.
Yes, anti-monopoly law and enforcement must focus on size and structure and aim to prevent and break concentrations of power and control. But this comes only after we apply non-discrimination rules, common carrier-style rules to every provision of an essential service or good. Most importantly, communications.
Once you understand that non-discrimination is a tool against unfair business practices and a tool of democracy that has always been around.
Data is one of the foundational elements of artificial intelligence, and fundamentally that is in large part an issue of privacy.
We need to be smarter and more concerned about how algorithms are using data and how companies are setting the objective function.
If you have a scenario where only a few companies have access to that compute or have access to that data, that may be bad for competition down the road.
We need to contest the underlying presumption that more data leads to better AI.
Enforce copyright, enforce intellectual property.
To learn from the mistakes that we had made with respect to sort of Web 2.0 and the policy choices that were made.
Power analysis is crucial.